You know, stabilizing the head and working with the head is really important, obviously, in the golf swing. And a lot of times what I see people do is they think their head's staying still because their eyes stay focused on the ball, and their head may be moving around, but the eyes have the ability to move with it, so it feels like they're staying still. So we have here is the head stabilizer, and it goes in the tall base here. So I'm just going to put the arm in, slide it in. All right, Ty, why don't you take your setup? Okay, now what I like to do with this is I'm going to raise it up so if we're just using it just for the head position only, what I'll do is it'll also help with the setup. So if you get somebody who's set up on their left side, you can see how far his head is away. Okay, now go ahead and take your setup and get a little bit more tilt. Let's say you want him to tilt back to the right a little bit more. So even if I slid this back more, go ahead to exaggerate the other way now. So that would be a tremendous amount of tilt. So go ahead and set up normal. So I'm going to get you addressed about where it is normally. Okay. So there's lots of ways to use this. Again, if the person sets his head against it, go ahead and make a backswing here. Okay, so basically that's going to limit you from making a lateral movement of the head back, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and a lot of times, how about showing us a reverse pivot here? So there's a reverse pivot. So a lot of times what I'll do is have the student make sure they have to keep their head against that all the way back, and then they can't reverse pivot. Okay, and then also a lot of problems going on the downswing of the head either moving forward. Go ahead and just kind of demonstrate that. Head move forward. Okay, so that leads into a lot of bad shots. So go ahead and make a swing and just keep your head right against it. Okay. Also, this is padded here because just like Ty did there in the end of the follow-through, sometimes the club will go ahead and just bump that a little bit. So but go ahead and make that good swing. Okay, good. Now, also what I find is there's people have problems with their head moving up and down. So basically right here, what we just showed you is for side-to-side movement, and you can adjust this in many ways. So you might want somebody to have a little lateral motion, so you'd put it away and then have them move into it. So there's lots of different things you can do that. Now, this piece that comes along with it is just an extension. Why don't you move out of there for just a sec here? I'm going to just slide that right in. And it comes with two sizes of plates for the top. This is the shorter one, which I use mostly. Okay, go ahead and take your setup here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to adjust it up way up above his head. And then I'm going to slide. Is that your setup there? Mm-hmm. Okay, then I'm going to move it down. Is that touching your head now? Just barely. Just barely, okay. And I'm going to move this. Actually, I'm going to move this in, the far piece right here. I'm going to move this in. So it's right over the top of his head there, okay? All right. Now, is it still just touching you barely?
It goes up just a little bit.
Okay. All right. So he's got a little bit of pressure there on his head, and your head's up against the side of it. All right. Now go ahead and make a swing, and just go ahead and go right on through. So basically right there, the plate on the top forces him to stay in the spine angle a little bit longer. Now, I've only made the plate so that if you can come forward a little bit, you actually head will move up toward the end. So if we were just working on the head position here, what I would do is, if we're talking about the up and down movement, I would slide this over. Okay, so it's still touching your head, right? Yes. Okay, now go ahead and make a swing on the way. No, don't keep your head against it. Just keep it right there. Keep the level constant and swing through. Okay, now go ahead and swing through and come out from under it at the very end of the swing. Okay, so there his head move forward at the end is which is what it should do. So if you have somebody that's hanging back, you would want them to come out from under that at the end of the swing. If you have somebody that's lowering you know through the ball, you want to make sure that they keep their head against this in contact with it all the time. So kind of like what we used to do holding a shaft on somebody's head or to the side of their head, it takes the place of that. The other piece that's a longer extension might be for somebody who moves their head really far forward and they come out of their posture. So I kind of did one to really over-exaggerate, so players really have to stay down in their posture. But I think you'll probably use this mostly. Okay? And I would recommend that you just use this piece when you're working on the up and down motion. When you're not doing that, then you go ahead and take this piece out. The only, sometimes also, go ahead and do that one more time, is that you'll see occasionally in the follow through, I want you to have your follow through a little shorter. Okay, so right here, go ahead and bring the club back up here. Okay, so you're in good shape there. So once in a while, as long as you're just not working on the up and down movement, I want you to take this piece out. And then what you'll do then is just use the bar for the side-to-side movement.